What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Late. It's your host, Matt Johnson here. I want to kick today's show off with a good, positive update on Nikola Vucevic. He dominated in the Eurobasket exhibition contest in an 88-76 win over Israel yesterday. This was a solid showing for Vuce. He seems to be in good form. He finished with 27 points and 10 rebounds in this exhibition contest, a stat line Bulls fans have become all too accustomed to seeing in his time in Chicago. He's a double-double machine, so very exciting to see him get back in action here. It's encouraging to see him play solid ball at this point in the offseason, and his future kind of being up in the air with the Chicago Bulls. We'll continue to monitor his situation. I do think he will ultimately start next season here in Chicago. I think he's an important piece to what the Bulls want to do at this point. We'll see what happens as they near the trade deadline. We're a ways away from that, though, so we'll see what happens. I mean, he had growing speculation that he could be moved this past year. I've talked about that a ton throughout recent weeks here, but good to see him playing good ball there. I know the exhibition contest for that Eurobasket championship will continue, and then I think the pool play continues and begins next week here, and then that contest will continue. So we'll see how he looks. It's encouraging to see he's playing good ball. Always love to see that from your fellow Chicago Bulls throughout the offseason there. So I wanted to switch gears here and talk a little bit about a guy who has a lot of speculation on what a deal could look like, and it's Josh Giddy in terms of what the framework of a deal could look like if both sides come to kind of a concession here. Bleacher Report's Dan Favale believes that a concession could look between you're looking at kind of like a $24 million average annual value in its deal, serving as a middle ground between each of their preferences. So in this scenario, Favale predicts that Giddy will ultimately sign that 4-year, $96 million deal with the Bulls that includes a player option in the final season. This is a scenario that I brought up previously. I think it makes a ton of sense for both sides. In this scenario, you're really going to bet on this ending with the 4-year deal that sees Chicago coming up a little bit and Giddy moving off his initial ask in flexibility at the end of the contract being a solid option 2 there for both sides. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to continue to kind of update you guys on Josh Giddy. I am anticipating a deal getting done within the next few weeks, hopefully. It'd be nice to get something on the books at the end of August here. So we'll see what happens there. I want to keep you guys in the loop on him. That's a very critical piece to the Bulls offseason. The Bulls have been kind of quiet in terms of making moves, so when that gets penciled in for Giddy, that's going to be kind of the big splash for the Chicago Bulls at this point. Obviously, a Okoro coming in, but we'll see what happens there as well. Switching gears to a target and a player I was kind of looking into, and it's a good fit for Chicago, Jeremy Sohan of the San Antonio Spurs. He's a solid option. He's an interesting trade candidate for Chicago, along with guys like Jaden Ivey. He's a wing in which he could be a potential player to watch on the trade block. The 2025-26 season will be the final year of his rookie contract. He signed that $23 million rookie contract in 2022, so he will be freed up there. San Antonio has a lot of young players, so he could be a moving part there, considering the Bulls, like to let it fly from deep, and I thought this was a fit kind of analyzing why this would be a solid option. The Bulls, they do like to let it fly from deep there. They play at a high rate. Efficiency is what they look for, and they couple that with an utter lack of versatile defenders. He'd be an ideal fit for Chicago as a forward there. His youth kind of it really does align with the Bulls front office vision, and his play style certainly fits with what Arturas and Mark Eversley have been targeting, evidenced by the draft selection of Noah Sange there. So, I think bringing Okoro in, they sure have shifted their focus to that style of play there. However, where it makes it difficult here, and this is going to be the challenge, there's not much wiggle room for the Bulls to add more wing depth this offseason. You got Kevin Huerter, Dalen Terry. They're going to be off the books next offseason. Okoro and Phillips are soon to follow. I think Okoro is going to stick around, though. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Phillips. I profiled him a while back. Furthermore, Pat Williams has been mentioned as a trade candidate for quite some time now. So we'll see what happens with Williams there. His future is very much in flux in Chicago, as I've talked about a bunch. So we'll see what happens. It's now a matter of time and and what the Bulls will be willing to take in terms of a deal that will get the $18 million forward off their hands there. So I think Sohan is a tantalizing option. I think, he's capable of lining up at either the forward spot and has a presence felt as a quality defender. I think when you look at this guy and watch the tape on this guy, he's a very contributing asset to that Spurs team at the moment. Chicago is really in dire need of a physical forward such as Sohan there, one of which brings energy and hustle, something that Billy Donovan would love there. Lastly, Sohan's sub 30% career three-point rate wouldn't be as magnified on the Bulls. He'd be put in a position to kind of succeed on offense as a cutter, I think, along in transition as well. He'd be a good threat alongside Josh Giddy and Kobe White there. I think that could be an interesting and fun plug in there in this Bulls lineup. So let me know what you guys think on this Jeremy Sohan guy. I think he's a very solid option. I think it's an exciting opportunity if the Bulls want to take a shot at a guy like that. Now, given the Bulls' lack of making moves, and they're kind of focused on getting a deal done in-house with Giddy and then figuring out what they're going to do in terms of constructing lineups with that, with the Coro now being in town. But just a fun thought there. I think that's an interesting option. Jeremy Sohan is a player that fits really well here. So we'll see what happens there if that gains any traction. It is a name that I've seen kind of gain some momentum in recent days here. So anyway, I wanted to wrap today's show up with some NBA news here. The Toronto Raptors have extended GM Bobby Webster's contract. Obviously, they moved on. They kind of shook up their front office. The team will not hire a new president at this moment in time. The Raptors have enlisted a CAA executive search to assist in hiring a new team president. So it's a very interesting situation there for one of the Eastern Conference's more prominent organizations in recent years. I do think they had a really solid draft, so I think you're going to want to watch out for that Toronto Raptors team. They're young and upcoming there, had a very successful draft, and kind of moving into this next season with some momentum. That's why it was kind of shocking to me that they shook things up like that. But extending the GM kind of put some stability in place at the moment for that organization. So that's certainly some interesting news there. And then today, as of this morning, actually, John Wall has officially retired from the NBA after 11 seasons. Wall was a 5-time All-Star. I mean, John Wall was a huge part of Kentucky basketball. He played a very prominent role in his NBA career, was a contributing player for a long time. So I'd call it a successful career for John Wall. He definitely brought excitement to the league night in and night out. So that'll certainly be missed in terms of him there. However, I want to wrap today's show up as well with kind of getting your guys' take on Nikola Vucevic, and do you think he should be back this upcoming season? I know the opinions have kind of differentiated throughout recent weeks and throughout this entire show, really. So kind of want to gauge where you guys are at in terms of him. Do you think that offer for Josh Giddy is a good one? I think it's a decent option there. I think when it comes to kind of coming to an agreement on both sides, you don't want to wait much longer. I've kind of emphasized this. The longer you wait, the stickier the situation gets. So I think that offer, in terms of that annual average value coming in at $24 million, is a decent one. So I'd be curious to know what you guys think. A lot of you guys have expressed what you would like to see in recent episodes in terms of a Giddy deal and what that should look like. So we'll see what happens there as well. I'll continue to monitor that for you guys as it's still kind of like a quieter part of the offseason in the Chicago Bulls, current events here. I want to keep you guys posted on some of the big players in the news kind of circulating. So again, thanks for joining me today, guys, on another episode of Bulls Latest, and we will see you guys tomorrow.